Okay. All right, hello class. I'm Amy, Dr. Langville, or just Dr. L. Any of those work for me. So I'm going to wait a few more minutes to make sure we've got folks here, and there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers, I promise. I know you guys got lots of questions for me about this new format. And I'm hoping today will take about an hour. So we'll really focus for this hour, and then I'll tell you again how we're going to move forward with this class. And if, as we're waiting on some more folks to join, if you've got questions, make sure you open your, go down the bottom of Zoom and there's a chat. I'm sure y'all are familiar with this at this point, but you can type something there. You can also unmute yourself. You can, if you go to that chat part in the participants, you can raise it. I think there's an option to raise your hand. So any way to flag my attention. And if one of you, like if Shelby sees that Aaron has asked something in the chat and I haven't noticed yet, again, let me know somehow if I'm not paying attention. I got a lot to manage, so you can help me make sure I'm attending to everyone. So first couple announcements. So again, I'm fine. You can call me Amy. Dr. Langville, Dr. L, any of those work. I'm comfortable with any of those, so whichever one works for you. And I know some students don't like the first name basis, but if you're fine with that, I am too. So you should be in Math 10505. This is Express 2. Just make sure we're in the right place. And I've gotten some emails from you, concerns about this Express 2 format, and we will talk about that as well. This class will have several announcements, and then we'll save the last little bit for a sort of mini lecture that we'll talk about. Another nice thing, if you haven't used it yet, is in the upper right of Zoom. There's the gallery view and the speaker view, so we can see all of each other at the same time and learn names. Another goal today is for you to meet your teammates. Okay, so it's about 4 after, so we'll go ahead and assume we've got who we're going to have today. Every one of these will be recorded automatically, and then I will post them on Oaks. Every Wednesday, we will have one of these synchronous classes. So synchronous means we meet during our class time. Asynchronous means you do it on your own time. So much of the material will be delivered asynchronously through your journals, which I specifically designed for this class, for this format, in fact, right? So this is one of the reasons I think you need to be less concerned about this is Express 2 and this is COVID and this weird format, is these are made for that. And we're going to start with 1 first, and we'll get to 1.5, and we'll talk more about these as we go. I think some of you sent me emails, concerns that you had to have them shipped, you're working from home. No problem. This first week you'll see on your Oaks material is what I'm calling an orientation week. And that means that we will be, part of the thing is for you guys to get your supplies, these 2 things from the bookstore, and have them mailed. So they should be there in plenty of time because you really don't need to start working from them until next week. You have a few assignments that you have to do this week that are very easy. And so when you go into Oaks, you'll see that one of your assignments is to just get the journals and then flip through it, take a picture of a page you like in each one. Flip through this one, take a picture of a page you like. Now you have 2 pictures and you need to upload those to Oaks as one PDF file. So that the purpose of the first assignment was 1, to get the course material, 2, to learn how to enter material into Oaks. So it's a format that me and there's a grader. Let me put Chloe's name up here. She's a grader and also an excellent math tutor. She works in the math lab as well. We'll talk more about that as well. So by putting your assignments, pages you like from each one of these, in one PDF, you're learning how to use a tool called, if you haven't done that yet for your other classes, I'm sure you have at this point, but there's a nice tool called Cam Scanner. It's all in Oaks. It'll prompt you to help you submit one PDF file for your assignments. So we always want that format to keep things easy for us. Okay. Okay, so we talked about the format being synchronous and asynchronous. So on Wednesdays, our classes will be synchronous, which means we'll meet at 4 o'clock. And you can think of this as like an open office hour. worked problems, you bring questions from me, from activities that you've worked in the journals, from homework assignments, from the quizzes you've worked on OAKS, something you weren't sure about, you bring them to me on Wednesday. We'll work as many as we have. We have from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So if we want to stay that whole time, we can. I will stay that whole time and answer questions. So it's a synchronous delivery on Wednesdays with you guys bringing questions. If you don't, I'll have a few problems I'll work. It'll be recorded and posted on OAKS. Everything else has already been recorded. Well, I need to do more work, but many of the first several weeks have been recorded or on OAKS in an asynchronous delivery. So most of those videos are anywhere from 10 to 20. Sometimes there's a 30-minute one just to keep short little segments where you can sit down, focus, and watch this video, and then do the journal pages associated with that. And all those asynchronous videos are sort of to complement what you're doing here. So you're going back and forth between the journals and the videos, always with the goal of completing the assignments that are due in OAKS as you go. Okay, assignments in OAKS will be Sundays and Wednesdays, always at 11:59 p.m. You'll see some of this again with your first orientation week in OAKS. One of the things you have to do is go through the syllabus, and it has some of these key points. And so 11:59 on Sundays and Wednesdays, just get in the habit of making that part of your schedule, allotting time to prepare for those deadlines. You will have, and the OAKS things are called modules. So every week is a module in OAKS. Your first one again is module 0. It's just an orientation week, learning about the journals, meeting your teammates, taking a quiz on prerequisite material. Those things, those modules, week by week, Sunday and Wednesday due dates, and they're open 1 week at a time. Every module will be a quiz, sometimes 2 quizzes as you go through the module. And then the other thing we're doing this semester, which you'll see also in your syllabus, for this format, I think something that works particularly well in this format, rather than having in-class tests, because many of you have already emailed me that you're home or in very different places and it's hard to get back to campus. What we're going to do instead of what would have been, like I traditionally teach this, I do teach it express like almost every time, but this is only the second time I've done it as this sort of blended synchronous, asynchronous. So last spring, the first COVID semester we had was an express 2. We only got to meet 2 times in person, and then already we had a class similar to what you're starting with here. So I've got a little experience with that and found out things that work well. Where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought on that one. Oh yes, so the format. So normally if we were meeting in a traditional express format, we would have 4 exams throughout the semester plus a final exam. What I'm going to do in place of those 4 exams, we're still having our 1 final exam, but in place of those 4 exams, we're going to do 4 challenge problems. And you're going to work, those are at the end of every chapter in your journals. There's a couple that you can choose from. Like for instance, at the end of chapter 2, there's one about designing a skate park. There's one about a murder mystery, figure out who conducted a murder based on Newton's law of cooling. And your group will get to choose. There's one about planetary orbits and shooting satellites off to docking stations. And your group will get to choose which one you want to work on. And so that's pretty much, because we're express, that's every other week. So you're going to have one of these challenges that you're going to do with your teammates. And again, that's like in place of a test. So this is your biggest weighted thing, is to prepare for your challenges. But the neat thing is, unlike a test where you don't know what I'm going to ask, you know what I'm going to ask. You get to choose the problems. Furthermore, you get to work with your teammates, which have already been assigned to you. So I assign teammates through OAKS. It sort of does it automatically. And one of your first assignments this week during orientation is to meet your teammates. And you're going to make a little Zoom video yourselves with it's teams of 4, I think every team except for the last few, or 3. So teams of 4, you're going to meet your teammates, and then you can talk about these sorts of things. When you can meet, strengths and weaknesses, what your goals and expectations for the class are. So we'll get to that too a little bit later today. We'll come back to that team idea. Okay, so that was the first thing, was the format of the class. Maybe oh, I mentioned that I have done this as a COVID semester, but in the traditional Express 2 class when we're meeting in person, I do lots and lots of group work. And so we're still trying to simulate that. And we'll simulate that sometimes in our synchronous class. I might break you off into little breakout rooms in Zoom to discuss things. But I want you to simulate that at home with your team. Like you can just pick up your phone, text a friend when you're doing activity number 1 in module 2 and you're kind of stuck, ask a teammate for help. Okay. All right, so next thing, maybe I'll share the screen on the syllabus and we'll quickly go through that. I want you, while we're going through it though, to write in your notebook if you got any questions for me, because then we'll have a little question and answer after this. Okay. So I'm going to go to how Oaks looks on my end. And again, just showing you the format. Module 0 is our orientation and prerequisite material. And so this is, everyone will have always these 2 sections, course materials and assignments. And sometimes they'll have planning and a discussion board. So this time you do have a discussion board to do. Your course materials are to read the syllabus, read your journal preface as soon as you got that, watch a couple videos here, some really short ones. You get to meet more about me in my instructor video, intro to the journals, 5 minutes, and then here is our prerequisite video, 30 minutes about linear functions. So some of you might not have had math in a very long time. Some of you might not have had a good relationship with math, and so this would be a good video to go over. And we'll have next Wednesday bring me questions about that. So your assignments then are in this next section. You'll have a quiz on the syllabus. It's going to be an unlimited number of attempts. So you can open it up. It's open Oaks, open syllabus, and just trying to make sure you see some of the key highlights from the syllabus. Next thing is your activity is to go get your journals. There's a Dropbox here where once you've done what is in the instructions, you'll again flip through each journal, take a picture of your favorite page from each, upload those 2 pages in one PDF. CAM scanner is a good tool for converting that. And then you'll hit this link, it'll go to the Dropbox in Oaks and you'll enter your PDF. The next assignment is a quiz on the prerequisite material. A little description here. The quiz, when you click on this link, it opens up the quiz in Oaks. You can go through that. This is, again, a place for you to get some knowledge about where you are with your prerequisite material, and if you need, to start coming to office hours regularly, getting a tutor, going to the math lab. The discussion math is in the discussion board, just to, again, get you used to learning how to use the discussion boards. We'll use those a few times in class. And lastly, you're making a team video. You're going to meet your teammates, meet for no more than 30 minutes, make a quick introduce yourselves, and then you're going to make a short 3 minutes or less video introducing you guys to me, and then you're going to put it in this Dropbox. So here are team 1 is Alyssa, Reagan, Wade, and Alexander. I've got your, you can access this on Oaks and find out which one you're in, but you also see their CFC handles. So you can say @g.cfc.edu to email those folks. It'd be a good thing to send those emails, get contact information, phone numbers right away from your team to do this assignment. This is a big section, so there's a lot of you. It's going to be tough on both sides. That's why we've started some group stuff, but we'll get through it. I've always taught this as a double section. This one's actually bigger than normal. Okay, so anyway, that's just the orientation to Oaks, but I wanted to actually show you the syllabus. So let's get back to our course materials. And here's our syllabus. And then this document PDF shows up. And okay, my information, a little bit about the class, that we need these 2 journals, learning outcomes, some things that are required by the math department. Again, your textbooks, I think you've seen Stephen Jones or Joanne Sting, I already sent an email about this. If you email them or call the bookstore or go in person, they have the copies and they're also happy to mail them to you. Okay, and these are some, again, I'm sure you guys are pros at this point with all the COVID of the software and hardware that's needed to function. Again, etiquette about some of the discussion boards and things that you'll be doing with your classmates virtually. Just read these. I'm sure you guys are, again, all pros and polite and kind and generous folks. So, okay, how to get help. This is a great resource. And one I want to show you is the Math Lab. So number one thing you want to do, you can meet during my office hours, which is our synchronous class on Wednesdays. Second thing, Chloe is a rock star math major. She works in the Math Lab, tutors privately as well, but the Math Lab is free. So whenever Chloe's working, that would be a great time because she is very familiar with these journals and very familiar with how I grade. And so you can find that Math Lab schedule. I hope this link works. Yeah, okay, so here's the Math Lab. This wonderful lady, Hope Florence, runs it, and you can make an appointment. And you can also see the schedule for fall 2020. And these appointments, they'll ask you for 15-minute time segments, but you can stay as long as you want. If you want to stay for 3 hours, go for it. But you just have to like meet that first time in a 15-minute block when you schedule it. Now, again, here's Chloe. She works on Mondays from 10 to what, like noon, right? And then she works again on Wednesdays, and I think she's there later in the afternoon. Oh yeah, Tuesday afternoons, Thursday afternoons. So she's there often. All these other folks are great too, but I just know Chloe quite well, and she will be grading and helping with this class. Okay. Let's go back to our syllabus. The other great resource for this class is your classmates and your teammates. They're motivated, and they're also learning the same style with these journals and working on the assignments at the same pace. So that's a great way to learn. Okay, yeah, we talked about discussion boards. We'll be using those. Zoom, you're going to learn how to do that with one of your assignments. If you haven't already learned, you're going to make a team Zoom video. Links there if you haven't learned how to do it. Again, we're going to use some buddy system. Those are your teammates. So I definitely encourage you. This is not, I know maybe some classes folks are much more worried about in this remote environment. How do I stop students from cheating? No, I actually want you to collaborate. I want you to be discussing this material. I think math is collaborative and it is discussion based, and you'll get more out of it if you do it that way. So again, it might be a good idea once you meet your teammates and you have your contact information. Just if you get up and you're usually doing math at from 9 to 10 on Wednesdays, text one of your teammates and be like, you want to do this together? And you just Zoom and talk out loud about some of these activities that you're working or a particular problem you're stuck on. Okay, lots of links here if you are having tech problems. That was usually for a typical semester, but again, I feel like they're all probably pros at this point. And again, this attendance thing is because things will be recorded. Some of you have already contacted me that you can't make that Wednesday meeting. Well, it's going to be recorded, and that gives you great freedom. But again, with freedom comes responsibility. So you have to make sure you are on top and disciplined if you're doing it entirely asynchronously. Okay, late assignments. Yeah, you're going to plan ahead. Always know Sundays and Wednesdays are due dates. Okay, some of these policies we're supposed to be talking about. Academic honesty. Yeah, we won't cheat. We're upstanding citizens and adults. Disabilities. So if you were registered at the SNAP Center, I've received a few emails from you guys. You're going to have to keep up with me. There's a lot of you, and I've got another class that's also a double section. So just stay ahead of it and let me know a week in advance things that I need to do on my end to accommodate you. We'd love to do everything we can to make accommodations so every student is learning in the way that helps them learn best. Pronoun usage, yeah, let me know if your preferred pronoun or usage. Okay, emails, yeah. Okay, keys to success, make sure you're gonna log into Oaks 4 times a week and just checking the calendar, checking due dates, going into whatever module you're in and making sure you haven't forgotten something. The next one, spend 12, 15 hours a week on this class. Remember, this is an express too. If we were meeting in a traditional semester in person, you'd be listening to me 3 hours on Monday and 3 hours on Wednesday, and I wouldn't be talking the whole time. You guys would be interacting, and I'd be asking for lots of group work. But still, that's 6 hours a week just in the lecture time, and then you have to make sure you're able to do your homework. So that's sort of the minimum. Some of you maybe have had this before or started in another class. Maybe it's a little less for you, but you kind of want to plan for that. I think the best way to be efficient though about this class is to not be banging your head against the wall thinking alone about problems for a long time. Reach out to your teammates. Again, discussing math will get you a lot farther along than thinking that it's a solitary activity. Okay, and then the last point, these journals were purposely made to be physical and printed, to be interactive, and you do things like if it asks you to fold a page to think about something, do that. You'll also see oftentimes that when it's asking you to do some active learning, it will be in a gray font, and that's your kind of your cue that like, hey, I should answer this question, I should fold this piece of paper, I should make an airplane and do what it says. And if you do that, I promise that it is purposely designed so you will understand the material better and you'll do a lot less studying for that final exam that will be coming. Because it sort of emblazons it in your memory when you actively learn it or make it personalized. All right, let's go on to the assessment and grading. Okay, so yeah, we're going to use the university plus minus, so ultimately you're going to get A's, A minuses, B pluses. Hopefully everybody gets A's. Haven't had that yet in all the semesters I've been teaching, but one time was pretty darn close in a graduate class. Okay, we went through the Oaks that there are modules, Wednesdays and Sundays, 11:59, a few quizzes every week, activities, challenge problems every other week. That's your general structure. And then we have this final exam. So we talked about the final exam is cumulative. If you're working through the journals and working on those challenge problems, I promise you'll be prepared. Quizzes are just making sure you're keeping up with the material. They come straight from the journals. So again, the more you interact with the journals, the easier those quizzes become. The journals contain activity pages. So you will be reading about this when you get them, but the journal has a preface that sort of describes the structure of the pages. A lot of different types of pages in this journal. And so the activity pages are always on this graph paper background. So any of the pages that have a graph paper background are not meant to be like cranking away, here's a function, y is a function of x, and it's x cubed minus x squared plus 4x, find the derivative, right? It's not that kind of problem. It's more of a conceptual, physical, again, throw a paper airplane, follow its path, tell me where it's increasing and decreasing. The other type of pages are these lined notebook pages, which are called calculation pages. Those are like you traditionally think of your math classes. Like crank away, basically do a human calculator. You're like a human calculator, calculate something for me, right? And so that's where on the syllabus it talks about activities and calculation practice. Those are the two main types of pages you'll be submitting. We talked about the challenge problems. Every chapter has those at the end. Let's see. I already put a few examples, but just to show you another one from chapter 1. At the end of chapter 1, a vandalism incident happened and you're trying to figure out who did it, and you're going to use ideas from chapter 1, which are derivatives and tangents, to do that. So noticing the weight again, challenge problems, those are your heavily weighted things. Those are your kind of the equivalent of your in-class exams. We're going to have those. You'll have some discussion boards, which are 10% in this orientation module. Hopefully everyone should get A's on everything on the orientation model, and then you're really already have 5% of this class done. Okay, our course schedule, a module every week. And in fact, a module is a chapter per book. So again, we're covering a lot of material, but it's all paced out in a way that we can do it in this express format. Okay, you'll read a little more about me, and then you'll watch a video and I'll tell you a little more about myself. So all that is our syllabus. I'm going to stop the screen share. Okay, so I think at this point, it would be a good time for me to mute myself and let you guys ask questions. So you can either unmute and ask a question, you can type it in the chat. From any of those things, which are basically sort of logistics of how the class is running, go ahead and ask me some questions.
Hi, I'm not sure if I missed it or not, but for every module, they're due on the Sundays, like of every week?
Yeah. Yes, is that Aiden?
Yes.
Yeah. Aiden, thank you for the question. So the modules, every module will have multiple assignments in it. Those assignments will be activity pages, calculation pages, quizzes, and those will be due on either Sundays or Wednesdays, depending on how I try to like space it out for you guys. So those are your 2 days you're always looking at. Things are due on Sunday nights at 11:59 p.m. or Wednesday nights at 11:59 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I got some questions in the chat. So yes, so Nick, I think we already answered that. So Sundays and Wednesdays, those are the key things to put in mind, and I will always be consistent about that. Okay, Diamond asked a good question. Are the quizzes or the exams timed? So great question, Diamond. What my philosophy on quizzes, so we don't have in-class exams until the final one. That one will be, I have to make it timed. That's a requirement by the college-wide thing. So it'll be in that 2-hour time block for our final exam is when our final exam will be done. It will be done on Oaks. You can do it from wherever you are during that 2-hour time block. The quizzes, however, we have 1 or 2 of those every week, just to make sure you're keeping up with the reading. You'll have usually three attempts at every quiz. My philosophy for the quizzes is that we're trying to understand and learn the material. I'm not trying to like time test you, so you should have plenty of time to do them. If you have a question on a particular one, I tried 3 times and I still couldn't get number 7 right, that's when you make a note, bring it to the next Wednesday synchronous class for office hours and we'll go over it. So my goal is with all of these assignments is not busy work, you know, it's all preparing you for that final exam, and we're trying to master the material. No more questions?
I think Matthew's talking, but I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Matthew, thank you. So we'll wait and see if Matthew unmute yourself. Here we go. Awesome. Okay, yes, I got your email, Matthew, about Nicaragua. Awesome. That sounds like a great place to quarantine. Yes. Okay, that's a great idea. So you're wondering about getting the notebooks from the bookstore and sending them to a family member in the States. That's a great idea. So you can email or call. It's either Joanne Sting or, and I think these names are on the syllabus or also in the email I sent. So for the bookstore, there's 2 names, and these folks will get on it like ASAP. They'll probably have it mailed out to you tomorrow. Joanne Sting and Stephen Jones. You can shoot them an email or you can give them a call, and again, they'll mail them almost instantly, and I think they even cover the charge of shipping, or they did last semester. And they could, so I see your question, your point now, Matthew. It would be better if somehow you could get the physical copy, but I also have a student in my other class, my Calc 3 class, who's in Italy, and he had a similar issue. So I will send you a personal email response to this that maybe there's a way we can figure out an e-version. I think though, my philosophy on this is that these were meant to be printed for a reason, and that is the physical aspect of doing these activities. You will be a bit at a loss with the e-version, but if that's the best we can do, hey, it's COVID, that's the best we can do. Okay, I see a few more questions in the chat, so we'll keep on going. Keep putting them there or unmute yourself. This is a great time to take up during this time to make sure we've answered all these questions. Okay, on Oaks, where the Zoom links for each week are found. Okay, Kyle has a question that the Zoom links, the maximum time I could do at this point was 2 hours. So if we will meet every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I will be on Zoom to answer as many questions as you guys have for me. If the 4 to 6 time slot, you brought 100 questions for me and I'm just cranking away answering questions. We hit 6 o'clock and more of you are still there and have questions, I'll make another Zoom from 6 to 7. But typically I imagine when I've done this in the past, sometimes, you know, I might have many fewer students that are very specific about their questions, and sometimes class will be 30 minutes, sometimes class will be an hour and a half. So that's the idea on Wednesdays. And again, I'm open from 4 to 7. That's our class slot, and we'll figure out whatever we can do to make sure you guys are all getting the material. Okay, do we meet every week on Zoom? On Wednesdays, yes, you do. It's in Oaks and out. I don't know how to answer this question. Maybe you guys can help each other on this one. The question was, how did you guys get into this Zoom link? A few of you I had to email and send you the invitation, but there's a way. I guess my point is, I don't know what it looks like on the student side of Oaks. I know what it looks like on the instructor side, but there's supposed to be a way within your Oaks that you just, you know, find out when your classes are on Zoom and click on those. So it might be best when we meet in our teams later that you can ask that question of your classmates, or if one of you know the answer to that, put it in the chat. And oh, looks like someone's already done. So it looks like a couple folks have answers. So Diamond says, to see the Zoom links from the student side, it's on the course homepage. So you'll go to Oaks, Math 10505, or you can use the calendar, it says, to access the Zoom link, or upcoming events. Oh, that's weird. Someone says it has it on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. I think those would have been old ones from last semester. I taught on Tuesday, Thursday. So if you look for the current ones, I believe I've corrected that. They should be just Wednesdays from 4 to 6. But again, if you guys are here, you guys figured it out somehow. It's the folks that aren't here that probably need the help. Okay. Let me make sure I've got all the questions on the chat at this point.
So meeting with teams, is that something that we do completely on our own time, or will we have any, like during the synchronous class time, to go into like breakout rooms and work with them at all?
Great question, Alexandra. Thank you. So that's generally, even in an in-person class, meeting with your group mates is one of the hardest things because you guys have busy lives. I think it's maybe actually a little bit easier this semester because we're all quarantined, but I'm going to try to figure out, it might take me a while, but towards the end of this class, I'm going to try to make breakout rooms today for your group so you can meet them. And then if you want to do that on your own on Wednesdays, I can certainly set that up. Like if your team's there, you can use that as a space. But the other option is when you're going this module 0 orientation, you're going to learn how to make a video in Zoom with your team. And once you learn how to do that, then you guys might figure out, hey, we like meeting Sundays after dinner at 8 o'clock. Okay, good question, Lindsay. Lindsay's got a question that the syllabus says a graphing calculator isn't required, but do I recommend it? And you'll see when you start doing these videos, every week in the module, I have either in the video or I have a separate video called a Tech Tools video. You also see in your journals, there are pages that are called Tech Tool pages. Let me just give you an example of one. So let me go back to here. All right, so here's a Tech Tool page, and it's using a tool called Wolfram Alpha. There's also one called SimpoLab. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Desmos. And so I'll give you instructions on how to use that tool in the journal, but I'll also do that again in the video live. And so these tools are all free, online, very user-friendly. But if you do have a calculator you love, one that maybe borrowed from a cousin, you got a favorite TI, you can use it. Welcome to use it, but it's not required because I'm trying to make sure we keep the costs down and we have these free tools. And this works really well in this environment because, and in fact, I encourage you to use them if you like them. You can use them during quizzes. You can use them during the final. I've built the class in such a way that we are working within this environment, not thinking, how do I take the traditional environment and make it fit in this weird COVID environment and then force you to not cheat or something. So this is what a lot of my colleagues are really focusing on, not letting people, but I'm actually trying to figure out how do I teach you in a way that you can use these tools and I'm still assessing your learning. Okay, good. Glad that helps.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
For the chapter 1, like when we cover lectures in class, are the lectures only like pre-recorded that we find on Oaks, or are we ever going to have lectures over Zoom?
Great question, Lauren. So my plan was I'm pre-recording everything, but anything that I need to like tighten up because I'm getting a lot of questions from students, I will do that during a Wednesday synchronous live class. So I might say, hey, I noticed like last week's assignment, you guys didn't do very well on finding CPs. So I'll teach it and then I'll be recorded. Then I'll post that for the folks that couldn't make that live class. So it'll be like mini lectures sometimes on the Wednesdays, but it's all based on feedback from you guys and how I'm seeing that, either questions you ask me by email, something you put in your Oaks assignment, like, hey, here's my PDF for my answer for activity 1, but, and this is really nice when you put those comments, but like, I got the first half of it, but I didn't understand the second half. And if I start seeing a lot of those comments on a particular activity, that's a cue to me that, again, I can tighten up and give more feedback and make review mini lectures. So we want to make sure that our Wednesday time is efficient and productive in the live sense. So anything that we can do, that's either questions from you or things I notice and make mini lectures on. All right, we'll give it a little more time on questions, and then I've got several more things I want to talk about.
This is more like of a personal question for us, but we're both in your class, and we were wondering and we live together, we were wondering if we could be in the same group so it'd be easier to work together with the...
Well, that's awesome that you guys are taking the class roommates. So I would say you have to, here's what you have to do with your group that is required. The groups that are already formed, and again, can't change, there's just too many of you to handle, Kate. So that is for your team challenge. So you'll work with them. But for any other activities, I encourage you guys to work together, talk about them, discuss them.
Okay.
So I think that's a fair compromise.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we'll do this next little activity. Again, in your notebook, you've probably thought a lot about the disadvantages of this format for learning this particular semester. I'm sure you've got some frustrations, but let's think about the advantages. So I've got a list of advantages, but maybe you could try to come up with at least 3 things. Make a little list of what are some advantages of having class in this format. It could be in general for any of your classes, but also specifically for this particular class. So let's take 3 minutes, make the longest list we can of advantages to having class in this format. Annie, so just to reply to her, Annie, what we're doing right now is we are making the longest list we can of advantages of having class in this format. And that could be any of your classes or specifically this particular Math 105-05 section. What are some advantages to having it in this format? I know you probably have a long list of disadvantages, but there are some advantages. So you're gonna take a minute and try to come up with at least 3 things, Annie. Yeah, okay, and then if you've got answers to that, you can type them in the chat or you can unmute yourself. And then I'll give you some of mine too. So the first one, Tyler typed one in the chat. Best advantage, probably, I think a lot of you are learning more the flexible schedule with the asynchronous. And so the synchronous, we're now just having this required on Wednesdays. And one of the things you can learn from that, again, the freedom, the flexible schedule is, in order for that to work and be successful, you have to be disciplined. And so I think that's the next thing, is to figure out if you are not that, if you're saying, if you're terrified of this format, probably it's because, again, you probably needed like, sort of someone cracking the whip or something, and then by having to be there in person in class on a particular day and having attendance. So figuring out little tricks that you can do to make yourself have that discipline. And sometimes that can just be having a study buddy. So Kate and I don't know your roommate's name, but great idea. Like they can stay on top of each other. That, okay, our allotted class time, it's a beautiful afternoon on Wednesday, which it is today. We're stuck inside doing this Zoom. But you might say, well, I'm gonna actually, Kate and her roommate are like, we're gonna go from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock to knock out these 3 activities this particular time. Late at night, it's dark. We already had fun during the day, sunbathe, swim in the ocean. So that flexibility is great, but you have to figure out how you're going to manage yourself, basically. And you get an opportunity to learn about yourself, how you learn best, how to motivate yourself, and also what you're capable of. I think a really neat thing that students have learned in the past from some of my classes, and with the group work, I often get emails from students like several years later, hey, we met in your class and now we're doing a study abroad in Italy, or hey, 10 years later, like we got married and we realized, oh, we met in your class. It was that group work that really got us. So people make some of their best friends and spouses in class this way. And learning what you can, how you learn, you might say, well, yeah, I can actually do a Euro trip next year. Me and my friend, but we're disciplined to actually continue college, taking our classes. Things are due at a certain deadline. I can, as long as I get to a Wi-Fi, I'm good to continue with my classes. So it opens up a ton of flexibility in your life, as long as you can learn how to manage yourself and be disciplined. Okay, so a couple of the comments were really good ones. Let's see. Oh, this is a great one, Adelaide, that you can pause the lectures and go back. Like, this doesn't happen in my live class from 3 to 6 o'clock. Some of you guys would have raised, 4 to 7 o'clock, would have raised a hand and said, like, I didn't get that thing 10 minutes ago. And I might be like, look, I got so much I got to cover. I just don't have time. See me in my office hours. But here, you can just pause the video, go back, watch it 10 times, call your classmate, collaborate that way. Let's see. Yeah, you can watch as many lectures many times as you want. Samantha, I agree, awesome. Yeah, the teamwork and partner work that's happening this semester would have happened in class, but this group challenge problem works particularly well for this format, and we don't have these timed in-class tests. So I think that this opens up some room for me to be creative as an instructor and push the limits of what we can do virtually with the group work. We would have done a lot of group work, just maybe a little bit different format. Yeah, class can be completed anywhere. Matt's in Nicaragua. We're all jealous, Matt. The steady pace, yes. So I think Oaks is also nice in the sense that things are due on Sundays, things are due on Wednesdays, and you're just gonna keep knocking them out and moving along. The other nice thing, students say in general, COVID or not, like traditional or regular semester, that the express format means we cover one chapter, every week, right? So that's like some chapters are 60 pages, some are 100, but pages are small, right? These are little 8.5 by 5, so tinier pages. But still, that's a good amount of material. And we cover all that in 1 week, so you can't get behind. Like, you just realize, if I just decided to blow off a week during spring break, well, you won't do that, because it's just impossible in this class. It's just too much to catch up on. So, and this format with Oaks, again, keeps that, as Erin said, this steady pace. Yep, Aiden, we can collaborate on the team challenges, which again, a lot less stress because it takes the stress away from performance-based to collaborative mastery-based. Yeah, it's easier to meet with your groups via Zoom than it is in person. Amen to that one, Emmy. Yeah, we can do it anywhere. Learn at your own pace. Strengthens your self-discipline. That's a good point, Bristol. Less filler assignments. Yeah, you can watch the material. That's a neat one, at your own pace. You keep coming to that, back to that. Like everything is for you at your own pace now. Oh, that's cool. Having the assignments online, you can look back easily. That's a really good point, Reagan. I hadn't thought about that. Like you can go back in and it makes your studying easier. Everything's sort of documented for you and archived in OAKS. Yeah, you're gonna have a time to understand the concepts, Kayla, because, and concepts are very important to me in this class. That's what the journals are all about, learning concepts behind why we're doing things. We're not just turning ourselves into human calculators. Yeah, assignments are, I'm purposely trying to make assignments very clear, very well organized, Kyle, so hopefully you guys will agree. Bridget, yeah, that's a good point, Bridget. Bridget says we get to not do math for half of the semester. So Express 1 time in the semester, you got a little break, and now we're gonna really kick it into gear and be math leads for these last 7 weeks. And what is it, the Kimmy Smith, you can do anything, you count to 10, you can do anything, right? Well, we only have, like, if we were in class for a traditional semester, we have 13 classes. And so we're only going to have like 7 synchronous Zooms, and then 7, you know, asynchronous. You can think about asynchronous days. Question from Tyler about, do we turn in the challenges as a team or individually? Great question. I'll talk more about those as we get closer, but the quick summary, Tyler, is that I will create a Google document for each team. Then each team can then access that at your own pace. I have access to it. The grader, Chloe, has access to it. And you guys will type. Each of you will pick a different color font in your team. So there'll be 4 different colors of typing that'll see who's doing what. I have prompts for you to sort of brainstorm together about how to make progress on this challenge problem. And then you'll submit a final report. And so you're working on that together collaboratively as a team. And there's nothing to submit on those because I have access to them. So again, we'll talk more about that the closer we get. So we don't have one of those for a couple weeks. Oh, great question, Addie. That's a really good question. So Addie's question is how are modules basically released, or assignments released? So every week on Wednesday at 1 in the morning, a module is open and you'll see all the activities, all the course material, everything that's due and everything that you need to watch opens up early in the morning on Wednesday. You have an entire either half week or full week to complete those assignments. And that'll always happen like clockwork. Every Wednesday things get opened. And so you can't like complete the whole class. I don't think anybody could. You don't have time with all your other classes and things going on with life, but that's the schedule. 1 week at a time. It's always open Wednesday at 1 a.m. And then you can start working on that week's activities. Okay, so just a few more things that I thought of. I found last semester, this was really interesting to me, that having class in this format, because of the chat, made folks, it sort of leveled the playing field. Like every semester, there's some kids that are very outspoken, whether they sit in the back or sit in the front. They'll ask questions, they'll participate. But there's some folks that are just, you know, amazing, but just shy, just kind of, you know, don't want to raise their hand, don't want to, you know, have any attention brought to them, but they're fine to do it in the chat. So I thought that was a neat thing I noticed last semester. Okay, we're here to check the group aspect. Oh, the other thing that's kind of neat for me is on our Wednesday synchronous class, that's kind of like, I feel like it's like my office hour where I have this massive office where I have, you know, in this case, I've got like 60 some little heads in the window here, but in my actual physical office, I can only fit like 4 of you. One time I fit 10 of them, and they were all like standing in this corner next to each other for a test. They were really worried about a test, so we did fit 10, but like 4 is the max, and so other folks had to wait. But now we can have office hours with infinitely many of you. You know, we're gonna have a Wednesday class with 60 of you, where we can all fit in there and ask questions and have our lecture. The other thing for me as an instructor that's been really cool is we have a lot more technology tools that I can use during a Zoom rather than in the classroom. The classrooms are kind of old, and the Elmo projectors weren't great, and I didn't have access to Desmos or MATLAB or one of these tools that I want to use, but it's all here. So I think that makes, for me, a better delivery for you guys with the technology. Of course, in this format, yeah, you got more family time and more pet time. I'm sure you're going to hear my dog bark, and at some point she's behaving today. But and if we were in class, she'd be the therapy dog. She'd come on test day. I don't have those. So. And then the last point I think is a useful one is you're getting really good skills that are going to be needed and marketable in your career in the future, whatever that career is, for just learning how to collaborate in this odd environment. And so some of this first week's orientation activities, we'll make sure we can do those. Even if you're a little nervous, haven't done, like, set up your own Zoom, no problem. You'll figure it out with your teammates. I promise you that. Okay, a few things then. I think I've already mentioned a couple of my philosophies on teaching, that it's about understanding and mastery. I'm not trying to make you guys into human calculators. We already have calculators that are better than humans at doing that calculating. I want us to understand why we're doing the calculating so that we have a hope of inventing new things. Another major philosophy of mine is formative versus summative evaluation. So I think we have at least a few, I looked at your majors, a few potential education majors. What that means, formative versus summative evaluation. Formative evaluation is that we're hoping that you're going to learn this material by the end of the semester, and that maybe you didn't get it here in module 1 or module 2, but by module 5, you look back on module 1, it's so easy. So if you want to go back and redo anything back there that you thought, oh, I just didn't get it then, but now it clicked. Because some of us learn at different paces and different rates. And our goal is by the end that we all are ready for that final exam and get it. So that's the formative part. If I was doing it summative, I would say, no, module 1 ended. I don't ever want to see anything else associated with that. Don't bug me again. I won't regrade anything. And that these are like timed deadlines. And that's usually summative, like you get one chance at it. But formative, again, is if there's something that you want to redo, you're welcome to do that. Especially, I love to see that because it tells me how much you care about learning that material and preparing for the final exam. Another thing I've already mentioned is that I believe math is collaborative, and I believe it is discussion-based. The more of that you do, the less studying you'll have to do later, and you'll actually understand why you're doing these things. Why are we taking a derivative and what it means. Okay, so those are some of my philosophies. We'll learn many more as we go through the semester, I'm sure. Next thing, resources for help. I've already mentioned a few of these. The Math Lab and Chloe, paid tutors. My office hours are basically Wednesdays from 4 to 7. Your classmates and your teammates. Those are the main things you want to leverage on for the semester. Okay, now I'm going to try to do set up breakout rooms based on your teams, and this might take me a while because there's a lot of you. So what I was going to propose that you guys do to make your time efficient is to go through the pre-tests. And so go into Oaks. Hopefully you all online have access. And one of your activities in Oaks is, I'll show you with a screen share, what it looks like on my side anyway. And go ahead and start working through this. So back to our course materials. For module 0, one of the assignments is there's a quiz on the prerequisite material, and there's a long write-up about, again, some of my philosophies about this and what you want to do. I think there are 21 parts to this, and so you're going to take quizzes. Yours will look different. This is like the setup for me. Like the first one, solve this equation. I don't know if this little pop-up box showed, but solve the equation 4 minus 9t equals 11, and you're going to pick your answers, and it'll auto-grade it for you. And this is a way for you to see which type of things you need help with. Do you need help solving equations, factoring expressions? This is supposed to be our prerequisite. So it might be a good idea now, pencil and paper out, start knocking off one of your assignments in the next 10, or if it takes me 15 minutes to set up the breakout room. So go ahead and start working through this quiz while I set up breakout rooms. So I'll be back, and when I'm back, I'll hopefully have rooms for each of your teams, and then that'll be the last main thing we're going to do is meet your teammates. Okay, guys, take a break from this quiz you were working on. I see. Sorry, Eli, I missed this. You were supposed to be in Oaks working on I think it was called Quiz on Prerequisite Material in Module 0. Just to make sure you could see where you're at, bring questions for me next week so I could lecture about the 2 topics. The main things there are like factoring and some pre-calculus ideas. And so then next week, we're going to talk about linear and functions. So how do we graph lines? Yeah, it should be review for most of you, but if it's not, then no problem. And the next thing is functions. And now what I've done at this point, so the last thing I want to talk about, oh, thank you, Lauren. So I see that it says it was time, so I need to go in there and change something on that. I'll change it. So Lauren, I'll change it so don't worry about the timing on that quiz. I'll do that after class today. I make a little homework assignment for myself. Because again, this is more just helping you assess where you're at in Oaks. Okay, so what I want to do now is go to our breakout room. So I believe I've done this, everyone that is here. Now, some of you will have a breakout room. Unfortunately, there were a few rooms that only have one person because your other classmates didn't show up today. So you're going to need to contact them. This is in the assignment under Oaks called Make a Team Video, and it has the list of all the groups with each person that's in a group. So that's where you can find your name, find out what group you're in. Like for instance, team 1 is Reagan, and her teammates didn't show up today. So they're watching, I guess, asynchronously. Team 2 has Ilaria and Lauren in there, and you're missing 2 other teammates, which again, you can find out by going into Oaks who those folks are and contact them. But use the time now when you're in your breakout room. Here's your instructions for what I want you to do in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Meet your teammates. So exchange contact information, talk about why you're in the class, maybe any concerns, questions, like what you're expecting to get out of it. So just chatting with your teammates and figuring out contact information, maybe good times that you can generally meet. Again, goals for the class. So meet and greet in the breakout room. And then notice in the breakout room, there's some way when you're in your room to like raise your hand and call the teacher over, right? As if you would in a physical class. So if your team has any questions, concerns that you thought of and you want to call me over, use that ability in Zoom to do that. And then I'll jump into your room and it'll be just me and the 3 or 4 of you. And then I'll come back to the main room. Okay, and then if you're not in a breakout room, but you think you need to be, like something didn't work out right, you went away for a moment and then came back into Zoom, let me know in the chat or unmute yourself and ask a question.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I joined a breakout room and I was the only person in it.
Let me see, you might have been the other one. There was only a couple groups. Yes, yeah, Kelly, so your other teammates didn't come. Might be a good idea for you just to continue with the quiz or go into Oaks and figure out who is in you're basically team 10, group 10. So you go into that assignment and shoot those guys an email and be like, hey, I went to the first class. We're part of a team. Give them a little update, get their contact information. Sorry about that,
Okay.
Kelly.
Oh no, it's fine. I was like worried. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah, so you went into like a black hole, it probably felt like.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do I just need to leave like the Zoom call?
You can stay if you want. I mean, or you can start working. Like a few things I would do. We're not going to do much beyond this, so I'm just going to hang out in case any of the breakout rooms have questions for me. So if you want to go ahead and leave, you can. Or if you
Okay.
want to just start working on quizzes and wait and see if I say anything else. But
Okay,
otherwise, nice
sounds
to meet
good.
you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Okay, hello, Zach, if you're on, and I'll also probably in a moment type this here in the chat. Yes, the prerequisite quiz is going to be due at the check-in Oaks, but I think the due date is next Wednesday. It could be on Sunday. So you got plenty of time to do that. We were just doing that while I was making breakout rooms. And when I was making the breakout rooms and putting you into your team so you could meet your teammates, that's what the purpose of that was. And let me see if I can find out where you are, Zach, in case you are here listening. Yeah, Zach, you're with team 7. So Alexandra is there. So hopefully you are in there talking with Alexandra. Alex, if you're there, we are in breakout rooms, so you can meet your teammates that'll help you with your projects throughout the semester, the challenge problems. Let me see which group you're in, Alex.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I definitely lost track of time.
That's okay. It's a crazy time. So let me check to see which group you're in. Oh, okay, you're unassigned. Let me check this real quick. It'll take me a moment, Alex, then I'll put you in with your teammates and they can fill you on some things.
Okay.
Okay, Alex, I'm gonna put you in with Reagan. Actually, she might have left, sorry. So you're in group 1 and Reagan is one of your teammates and she was here earlier. She may have,
I'm still here. I was just in the breakout room by myself, so I came back because I was
perfect. I'm gonna put
confused.
Alex in so you guys can meet each other and then you
Okay.
can catch him up. Okay.
We were actually just wondering if you wanted us to come back to a big group eventually, or once we're in our breakout rooms and we get each other's information, if we're good.
Yeah, so as long as you've done those things, so let me make an announcement and then you guys can sign off if you're ready. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And we only had 2 out of 4 people.
Yeah, that stinks. So some of the groups, there's only a few groups that had everybody here. So you want to make sure you get their contact information. You guys are group what number?
7.
7. Okay, so go into that Oaks assignment, contact those folks right away and get things set up. All right, so I'll make an announcement again. You guys are good to go for class today. Thanks.
Okay.
Nice to meet you both.
Thank you. And Miss Lango, I just like chatted you a second ago because I'm at work right now and I got busy for 1 second. But then whenever I came back, you were like waiting on us. I could tell as if we were supposed to be kind of doing something. But
yeah. So sorry, Zach. I think you were in your breakout room when I was replying to you. So we were doing a prerequisite quiz at the time, and that's in Oaks. And it's not due, I think, until next week. So you have plenty of time. Go in there, and you didn't miss anything on that. And hopefully catch up with your teammates as well if this happens in the future when you get behind.
For sure. Alrighty, so pretty much just the stuff under module 0 is what we're going forward to.
Yep.
coming up next week.
Yep.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Nice to meet you, Zach.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, I'm going to broadcast a message to everybody then. Hello, class. If you've met with your teammates and got the contact information and done that, you're free to exit out of Zoom and start working on other things. This week, our goal is module 0. Everything is posted and organized in Oaks. Otherwise, I'll see everyone next Wednesday, 4 o'clock.
Alrighty, see you Wednesday.
All right, thanks. Hey, Kate.
Is the class over? I was still in my breakout room.
Once you've done what you need to do with your breakout room, you're welcome. Was anybody else there with you?
There was 2 guys in it, and I think we're missing a girl.
Okay, good. Okay, so you know the goals for this week, just module 0, and meet that 4th person.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good. Thank you. We're so excited for class.
Good. Have a nice evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Trinity. Hey, Trinity, how are you?
Good. No one in my group is talking.
What? Do they have any video up?
No, they do not.
All right, so this is unfortunate. So I think sometimes what happens with these Zoom classes is people log in, but then go do something. So it looks like they're attending class. Yeah, that stinks. So it might be on you to have to shoot some emails and chase folks down for this. The one assignment that you have due this week is to make a video and meet your teammates. So shoot out some emails and maybe get phone numbers so you could text people.
Yeah, I created a Google Doc with all of our names and I put my email and my contact information and I sent it to all of my group members.
That's a great idea already. That's awesome. That gives me ideas for next semester.
And then we all just kind of sat there.
This was all we had for today. And so bring your questions for me for next week.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Hey, Hammer. Blair. Probably, yeah.
Oh, yep.
Do you have any questions for me? How are you guys doing in group 17?
I think we're good. We got all our numbers and I think we're ready to get to work, I guess.
Okay, well, that's all. That was the goal today. So if you've done that, you can go ahead and exit out of Zoom unless you have any other questions for me.
No, thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
It's literally just us. Oh, she's here too. Okay. We didn't know when we should leave the breakout room.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So as long as you've gotten everybody's contact information and you feel like you're good to go, you know what you need to do for module 0, you can go ahead and exit Zoom or ask me some questions.
I mean, I think I've got it under control. Do you know, so if I go to the bookstore, can I just buy it like there in person, like the copy, or do I have to, oh, okay, like they'll have it extra, okay. Cool.
Awesome.
That's
So you're in Charleston? You're in Charleston?
I will be in by tomorrow morning.
Okay. Where are you now?
Yeah. Florida. I'm just visiting my parents.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. But then you do have like a dorm, or are you living off campus?
I live in a dorm.
Okay. All right. Well, again, you should be able to just walk into the bookstore to get those. Everything will be good. How about you, Samantha? You have any questions for me?
No, I'm good. Looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Cooper, Connor, Merritt, you guys have any questions for me?
No, ma'am. I'm pretty set in stone with everything.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see you next week. You know what you need to do for module 0? Feel good?
Yes. So the quiz that we just took, it wasn't like for an actual grade, was it? It was just for practice.
No, just seeing where you're at, and you want to complete that and bring questions for me next week.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night. Hey, Emily.
Hey.
Hey.
I don't think I'm supposed to be here anymore.
So did you get to meet your teammate?
Yeah, we're both in this class together. So we were talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay. And did you meet any of your teammates?
yes.
Okay. All right. So then if you've done that and you know what you need to do for next week, you can go ahead and exit Zoom and go on with your evening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.